This is my student presentation for Sport Management 472, and this is the Carlos Correa case study by Ben Carlson. Alright, so the topic that we'll study is there a relationship between Carlos Correa's hitting performance, specifically home runs, and his team, the Minnesota Twins, winning their game. This allows us to see the value of a star player in the batter's box and their influence on the team performance. So, for those of you who do not know, Carlos Correa was a big hitter for the Houston Astros in his 7 years on the team. This made him in demand when his contract ended and the Twins were able to secure him. So, say I was the GM and I wanted to find the ROI of Correa in terms of impact of wins and losses, I would complete the following case study. And to find data on Carlos Correa, I went to baseballreference.com to find some low data. I used an Excel file that included the full hitting performance of Carlos Correa for the 2023 Major League Baseball season. Now let's take a look at that file. Alright, so just a little background. Descriptive statistics are when you organize and describe characteristics of data. So this is already kind of done for you from the Excel. Like these are all the characteristics, and then this is just a count of it. And so descriptive statistics ask like how many or how big. So in this case, it's more of how many, right? The descriptive statistics of this case study, in a broad sense, are that the following data set shows the batting performance of Carlos Correa during the 2023 Major League Baseball season. Now to look a little deeper at the data set that we're evaluating. The important statistics that we'll look at are the results of the game, so win or loss, and home runs hit by Carlos Correa. Using these statistics, we're able to identify any trend that may occur between Carlos Correa hitting a home run during the game and that game being won or lost. Alright, so now we'll look at inferential statistics, and this is when you make inferences from a small sample to a larger population. And in this case, we could consider Carlos Correa to be the sample, and the larger population, say, other star players whose teams rely on their bats. That's why they go after them, is because they know they can hit. So that's what Carlos Correa will represent in this inferential statistical analysis. And to do this, we must conduct a t-test. This compares two variables of a data set and provides a significance level in the form of a p-value. For this relationship between win or loss and Carlos Correa's hitting performance, we see here the p-value with one tail is what we're looking for. It is 0.012, and in statistical terms, a p-value less than 0.05 indicates statistical significance. So that shows that Correa's hitting performance is somehow related to the win or loss of the team, right? And the next inferential analysis that we can do is a correlation test, and this allows us to understand how variables can sort of affect each other. And so from this, we can tell how certain aspects, so this is at bat, these are runs, hits, double, triple, home run, and then they're all up here as well. And we can see how certain aspects of Correa's performance could be related to the outcome of the game. So when reading this graph, it is thought to look for higher percentages, as those indicate more significance. So I've already gone and highlighted those for you. And the correlation from this data set indicates significance between runs scored and the outcome of the game. So this number right here, 0.34. And so what this means is, so when Correa scores, there's an effect on the outcome of the score of the game. And then the next one we see are Correa hits and runs. So this one right here, the 0.35. And so that means that when Correa gets hits, there's a good chance that he will score that run, that like he got on base. So say he got on first, there's a good chance that he's going to score from first, either another teammate hits a home run or base hit or however he scores. There's a good chance of that happening. And then the next thing are hits and doubles. So this is another high significant value, and this means that when Correa gets a hit, that there's a high chance of it being a double. And the last one that we see, which is the highest correlation, is between home runs and runs. And this isn't necessarily a very good statistic just because a home run automatically counts as a run, so you can't really um, differentiate between the two and see how one affects the other because they're essentially the same thing. So to make this a little bit easier and to understand and a little bit appeasing to the eye, allow me to visualize the data in the form of Tableau, a data visualization processor. All right, so Tableau allows for data to be read in an efficient and accessible way. And so I took the variable home runs hit by Correa and compared that with the wins and losses of the Minnesota Twins in the 2023 season. And I pulled that data from the low data Excel sheet. And so we can see that Carlos Correa hit 18 home runs in the season, right? And of the 18, 14 the Twins won, and 4 of them the Twins lost. And so this graph is also labeled with the outcome of the game, and we see that the games that were won and that included a Correa home run were typically blowout games, and the score's kind of lopsided. I mean, 26, 11-1, 8-1, 7-1. Um, but the games that were lost are typically closer games that were within a few runs, right? Right. And in the case of wins, in the case of losses, Correa's home runs were not enough to get his team over the top. And in the case of wins, Correa and the rest of his team looks like they seem to have a really good day at the plate collectively as a team. That's how they got those pretty high pretty high run count. Now let's look at another visualization of the data set in the form of a cluster analysis. So this cluster shows the spread of Carlos Correa's total season home runs per team in accordance with wins and losses, which are dictated by the X and Y axis. So if you look, there's really no significance from this plot as the team where Correa hit the most home runs against the Detroit Tigers up here is the team that they lost to the most in the season. They had 7 losses and only 5 wins, but that's where Correa hit the most home runs, right? And the team that they beat the most that season, the Kansas City Royals, Correa only managed to hit 1 home run against them. So we can't necessarily say that that it was significant in the total win and loss factor. But we'll talk a little bit more in the next slide about the Detroit Tigers and how that kind of plays into the whole mix. We can conclude that there is a statistically significant relationship between Carlos Correa's hitting performance and his team winning the game. This is found from the t-test that indicates the .012 value based on the data, and there are certain aspects of his hitting performance that influence the outcomes of the game, like hits or doubles, and this is found from the correlation test, and that just shows, like I said, how the effect of other variables play into the win or loss result. And then Tableau, it allowed us to explore the data a little bit more, and we found that when Correa hit a home run, the team won 14 of the 18 games. This shows a trend that when Correa hit a home run, the Twins tended to win the game. The scatter plot showed us that 3 of the 4 games that were lost that included Correa home runs were against the Detroit Tigers, who the Twins lost to the most in the 2023 season. And so, like I said, we'll talk about it. Because of the Tigers, we could consider them to be an outlier, right? It's three home runs, but those they were all losses. We could consider that to be an outlier for this data set, and consider them to be a mega team that nobody could beat, or at least the Twins couldn't beat. And to conclude, basically, we'll say that yes, Correa's hitting performance, specifically home runs, do in fact having an influence on whether the Twins won or lost games during the 2023 season. This is significant because it identifies the role of star players and why these guys are so valuable and sought after. Correa's hitting performance is certainly something that helped the Astros win the 2017 World Series. It labeled him a hot bat and increased demand for his talent, and we can see now we can see how we can see the payoff for retaining this kind of talent as his hitting performance leads to more wins for the team. Any questions?